What is up, everybody? For my morning chat. Morning witches chat. Morning witches chat. Ah! Got a little crazy there. So, what is up, my beautiful, beautiful people? My beautiful lotuses. What is up? So, for everybody who knows, and for the people that don't know, that would just be joining in on this live, which I will wait a little bit to see if I can get a person. No, I won't. So, on this live, for the people who do see this, or for the people who just, come across this, I will be doing these Monday through Friday. In the morning time, primarily before 12 o'clock each day. I also go live on Facebook, but until mid of November, midweek of November, it won't be accessible unless you have me as a personal friend. But middle week of November, I will be transferring my Facebook lives to my Facebook page, Fire Lotus the Witch. And with that, so many things will be coming, so definitely stay tuned for that. So many things that I will be able to do with that. But I'm still going to be going live on here Monday through Friday, every day, for the people who just don't use Instagram, who don't use Facebook. So, on there is one thing that I will be, doing, and it may just be to where I want to get to a point to where every day each chat will be slightly themed. So, like, say on like Wednesdays, I'll give updates on witchy shows or witchy movies or stuff like that. So, with that stated, since I haven't picked a date, 2 updates. The Craft the Craft remake has officially began filming. One of the actresses I follow on Instagram, and she posted yesterday, I believe she's going to play Nancy, but I could be wrong. She posted a picture yesterday on her account saying that basically it was one of the clip things where they call scene, and it had the Craft on it. So they have officially began. I don't know if they had just been filming or what. Originally the research that I looked up was they were supposed to start filming or start production of it in July. And it's supposed to be released, I believe they were talking about sometime next year in 2020. I don't know what the storyline is going to be yet. I've heard the original thing that I heard was it was going to be not a prequel, but it was going to be a continuance of the original stories. Basically, it was going to be just modern day, to where somehow these 4 witches stumbled upon the magic Nancy and them did from the original Craft, and there were talks that maybe they were going to have walk-on roles as the original cast members. But I've also heard that they're just literally revamping the entire movie, and it's going to be the same plot line. I don't really know yet, but I'm super hyped. Like, that movie, I literally used to watch it on repeat over and over and over again, constantly playing. It was just, I love that movie. Interesting fact about that movie as well, a couple, they actually had a practicing high priestess on the set of almost the entire movie, basically giving them guidance. The director of the original movie and the writer and the producers and stuff, they wanted that movie to be as real as any Hollywood movie had ever done it before when it comes to the actual craft part. Now, of course, there was Hollywood stuff added to it, as in special effects, the levitation scene, the lightning scene where she takes Manon into her. Another interesting fact, Manon is not a fictional. It's not fictional. He is actually a god. I did not know that. Actually, until this is the ultimate Book of Shadows for the new generation. Solitary Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. If you don't have this book, this is a good book to have, although I will state that it's honestly just kind of like a encyclopedia. It's got great knowledge in it, and I always go to it because it goes over everything. It is kind of a complete thing. But in this book was when I actually realized that Manon was an actual god. But back to the craft. The scene where they're on the beach and they're invoking the spirit, they asked the high priestess, because that beach is a extremely popular beach in California for pagans and for witches. Practices there have occurred, I'm not going to say hundreds of years, but over the years. And the director asked her, how do you want our characters to do this? Hold on. How do you want to do this? Do you want us to just kind of act? Or can they, really act? Really get into it? And she goes, go for it. And what's very interesting is some of the scenes that they actually show in the movie where it looks like the ocean's washing away or washing over the circle of rocks that they have, or it looks like it's washing away the scene. It actually was. During the shooting of that scene, when they started invoking, it actually, the nature itself was responding to it, because there was one point where it actually almost washed away the scene. And all throughout that movie, especially that night, they were having, they had very strange and weird things happen throughout their entire shooting of that movie. Another interesting fact is the opening scene on the beach, where they're walking through the little cave thing where they're holding the animals. Those animals were supposed to represent the elements of the witches, and they actually screwed up. If I'm remembering correctly, it was just the one, not Nancy. Was it? No, it wasn't Nancy. I think it was Sarah. One was holding a snake, and the other one was holding the bird, I think. It was one of them, two of them. Two of the characters, the witches in the craft, two of them in the original movie, when they walk out on the ocean, or on the beach, and they're holding the animals, those animals were supposed to represent the elements that their characters represented. Two of them got mixed up, though, and they're actually holding the wrong animals. But, the sad thing is, I don't know the names by heart, which I totally should. Because I'm about to say their elements, due to what I've got from the movie. Okay. So, Nancy, of course, fire. I think we all kind of realized that. Nancy was fire. Sarah was earth. Yeah, Sarah was earth. Bonnie was air, because of the butterfly scene. And then, of course, Rochelle was water, because she was a swimmer. So, I think it was the fish and the bird, but two of the animals and two of the characters that they were supposed to be holding, they had them mixed up. So, but if you can get your hands on a copy of the craft to where it has the special effects, the special features, the deleted scenes, the commentary and stuff like that, I learned so much about that movie that made me respect it even more than I already do. But we know how Hollywood can do with the remakes and the reshoots and all that other shit. They can mess it up. With that being stated, I will be keeping updates on that, because I'm freaking super excited. Really excited for that movie. But because they're kind of revamping for a new generation. With that, and it goes into that, if anybody hasn't seen the movie or read the book series, Practical Magic, which I'm pretty sure everybody has, Practical Magic and the author, Alice Hoffman. Alice Hoffman? Is it Alice Hoffman? I think I said her name right. She wrote Practical Magic, and then of course it was turned into a book. Yes, Alice Hoffman. Yes. I believe. Yes, okay. I wanted to make sure I was saying that right. Alice Hoffman wrote Practical Magic. And then eventually it was rewrote into a script and turned into a movie, because if you've seen the movie and haven't read the books and read the book, it'll mess you up. I had troubles reading Practical Magic, the book, because I'd seen the movie before I'd read the book. But, since I don't even know if it started production, she released a book year before last, I believe in 2007, of, 2007, it's called The Rules of Magic. If you love Practical Magic, the movie, and or the books, you need to get your hands on the copy and read it. I have problems reading books now that I'm older because there's so much shit going on, it's very hard to calm myself and actually stick through it. But when I do find a good book, I won't put it down until it's done. That book, I did not put down until it was done, and I actually reread it right after I read it. It's the sisters in Practical Magic. It is the sisters, or the aunts. It is their story. And it also reveals insight into the family that doesn't state in the first movie. And then HBO is adapting that into a series. What? So yeah, that's becoming a series. You should totally read the book before that does come out, because holy shit. Another show, and the last thing I'm going to mention about TV is Homeland. That is a freeform show where they are the storyline to that, and it's supposed to I believe it's supposed to be released in January of next year. But basically, it's about the Salem witch trials. They discovered the witches, or during the Salem witch trial, instead of hanging them and killing them and imprisoning them for being a witch, they basically did a contract and signed a contract in a way to where they would help defend the country, and it's in this day and age. So, and it's going to show what the world would be like if that actually were to have happened, or something like that. But interesting thing. I don't know how it's going to go, of course, but I'm really excited about it. Now, with that, and I'm done with speaking of that, I'm trying to figure out something that I can do on here. Like I said, I'm eventually going to get the videos to where they're broke down into categories, or subjects. Like each day of the week we'll have a subject. One day will be like conspiracy theories, the other day will be like ghost schools, goblins, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm still working with this. The Facebook Live one, I went over ancestors. I went over things that you can do to practice or to honor your ancestors without actually having to be an experienced practicing witch or anything like that. I will say, actually, so for the people who are interested in practicing the craft, or you've just been curious about it, or magic, I'll say, and you don't know where to go, you don't know where to begin, you don't know who to talk to, you don't know what, okay, this is what you do. If you see this, and if you want to, and if you're curious about just how it feels and what it's like, find a pen, pencil, paper, whatever. If you can, find an either red, gold, or purple. And it can also, of course, just be black. But if you can find one of those three colors, perfect. Get a piece of paper, go somewhere quiet to where nobody's around you. And on that piece of paper, think of something that you want, or you need, or something like that. Something small. We're not talking about winning the lottery here. Get a crush to ask you out on a date, or win the giveaway, or something small like that. Something small but feasible, right? So where you're not going to have to, do the extra steps. Now, when you're writing this down, it kind of started out as like you're talking to the universe. Like, I write your name, ask, pray, or I say your name, manifest that, whatever, try to make it specific, but simple as possible. To the point, simple, but at the same time, there can't be like a mix-up or words or anything like that. Now, once you've done that, and as you're writing it, fold the piece of paper in half and put it in between the palm of your hands like this. And just kind of sit there, lay there, however you are in your position. And for like 5 minutes, few minutes, is in as much detailing as possible. Imagine not only the thing that you just wrote on that paper coming to your life. Don't just imagine you getting it and receiving it, but imagine the journey or the different ways that you could receive that, or it could work, and be extremely detailed in visualizing that. And then once you feel like, you've been visualized it enough, you've set your intention enough, there are multiple ways, but I'm going to go over 3 little things that you can do with it. For the people that don't really, you don't want to really step out of your comfort zone that much, take that piece of paper and put it somewhere that it's not, somebody can't randomly stumble upon it, like if they were cleaning, but at the same time, a place to where you won't forget where it's at, but it's also out of mind and out of sight. So like a book on a bookcase, something, maybe not a book on a bookcase, but a box, a journal, something like that, somewhere that you know where it's at, but nobody else does, and nobody else will discover it. Leave it there, forget about it. Completely forget about it. Until it eventually manifests. After it manifests, you can bury it, you can burn it, you can throw it in a stream. Now, for the people who don't want to do that, or for the people who want to, get a little bit more out of your comfort zone with, kind of, touching your toes and what it's like to be a witch or do magic and not necessarily have to have everything that you see nowadays witches have, you can either burn it. If you burn it, of course, put it in a fireplace bowl outside, collect the ashes, make sure you don't burn yourself, make sure you're completely cool, and once it's burned and you've collected the ashes, you can throw it to the wind. I'm good. I'm doing really good. How are you? You can throw it to the wind, or if you don't want to do that, you can bury it. If you don't want to do that, then find a stream and literally just rip it up and throw it in the stream. That's giving it to the universe. That are different ways. Also working with the elements too. And if you do that, if you actually do it, and you don't necessarily want to broadcast it to everybody, just inbox me a little emoji crystal ball. So if at any point in time you see this video and you actually do it, then inbox me a little crystal ball. I won't necessarily reply, but that knows that. And that also, if you want, I can go back, or if you have any questions and you do this and you have any questions, I can answer it and I'll know that those people are the ones that did the thing. But now stating that with October, next Thursday, Halloween being next Thursday, Samhain, I wanted to discuss a couple of things that you can do to celebrate it and not necessarily broadcast to the world that you're doing this. One way that I do it, and I do this every day of the year or every other day, I will say I had 3 family members who I wanted to honor. I would cook a side. I would cook them something, and you don't necessarily have to, but I personally, I've cooked them something, or I've gotten their favorite dessert or favorite snack, like chips, cookies, something like that, from the store, and I would come, and I have a place outside where I would leave it, specifically for them. Now, like I said, if you can't do stuff like that outside, you can find a table in your house, or a small little area in your house, and try to get some pictures. If you can, get some pictures of your past relatives, ones that you've never even met before. Put all the pictures on your little table and try to get their favorite fruit for Halloween. Or for the week of Halloween and then the first week of November. Try to get their favorite fruit and sit it around the pictures. And you can get some candles. If you don't want real candles, you can get fake candles. They still work. And just light the candles when you're at home. Or if you just want to know, you just want to send a message to them or let them know that you're thinking of them, light a candle on the altar. If people come over and ask what that is, well, for one, depending on how it does look, and since it doesn't have any weird symbols attached to it, they're probably just going to think it's just a display of your family. If they do ask, it's my ancestor, or it's my family members. You know, it's their table. And then you can, if you don't want to do the fruit, find small little trinkets, and you can keep this up all throughout the year, and just small, if you come across small little things that you know that, you know, like your ancestors or your past family members would like, then get it, you know, and come home and put it on the table. That's honoring them. That is taking time out of the day to specifically saying, I'm still remembering you. And see, in Western culture, that has become a huge problem that I've realized, is there's a lot of people that, you know, they are in Western culture, they teach us, and we're taught at a very young age, that death is a taboo. Hold on, I have to get a little too hot. But it's like taboo. And it's not really talked about. And when it is talked about, it's not a happy talk. It's all sad, and you're all just, you know. But it's also because if we're taught that death is not something to fear, like the most cultures around the world, they don't teach, you know, their culture is to accept and embrace death, not embrace death like being obsessed with it, but like in Day of the Dead, they literally go to the graves, to their ancestors. They will go and they will literally have picnics and decorate the graves with the feast. And they will literally have a feast with their family members. I'm sorry, but that sounds amazing to me. Like, why are we not doing this here in America? Like, why some things, we have so many things backwards. For us to have so much stuff that a lot of places don't. We have a lot of our stuff, the simple stuff, ass backwards. But death is not, it's not an end. Even scientifically, for the people who don't necessarily believe so open-minded, scientifically, it's proven that energy never dies. It just changes form and continues to go. When we die, our bodies either decompose back into the earth, or we get cremated, or something like that, but still, it returns back into the earth. But the life inside of us, and by the way, if y'all hear the cat, it's because my kitten is not in the craft room, and he's pitching a fit. But if I had him in here, stuff would be falling off the bookshelves, stuff would be broke, and no. But he is perfectly fine, I promise you. Lost my train of thought there. Ancestors, there we go. But you don't have to fear them. You can honor them very easily. I really did lose my train of thought. But you can honor them every day. And they are there. They are all around us. Maybe on different frequencies, and we may not be able to see them, but they hear us. Just because we can't see or hear them doesn't mean they know everything that is going on in our lives. All our family members do. And that's another thing, when it actually does come to the people that say, the newbies that have, you know, the newers, the newlings, I don't know what to call. I don't know, newbie to me would be like an insult, but to the people that had just started their journey on whatever path you're on, if you come across somebody and they ask you, do you have any ancestors who practice, or do you have any family members who practice, and you look at them and you're like, no, I don't know. And they're like, oh, well, you can't practice magic because, yeah, no, this bullshit. Bull fucking shit. As in, for one, we all have powers. We all can do things. We can all be witches, basically. We all are witches. The only thing that really different, being a witch and practicing, it's all about gaining knowledge. Forgotten knowledge. So we can unlock our hidden potentials as just a human species. You know, and I mean, honestly, that's what magic is. And everybody has psychic gifts. It's just the way that you see your world. You have to change your perspective. But with that, we have ancestors that we may have never met, but they were using herbs. They were, you know, doing small little things that today, in this day and age, would be considered magic. But in that day and age, it was just a way of life. It was survival. So if you come across somebody who's like, well, you know, you're not linked to the Salem witch trials, or you're not linked to this or that or that, we all are. Everybody at some point in your life, at some point in your generational family tree, I guarantee you, you had somebody at some point in some time practice magic or do magical things or heal people with herbs every single day, or use folklore, or for the Appalachian, the old school Appalachian folklore, they use prayers out of their Bible. Because back then, church was what they knew, but they also realized that the earth around them, the nature around them also was conscious. It could think, it understood, and they learned and weaved their way to where they use quotes from the Bible as I would use a spell from a spell book. Or, you know, and that's magic. That literally is the point of the craft. We have to realize with this craft and the people that are hearing the calling, it's 2020. You know, we're no longer having to hide in the shadows of the night. We're no longer, I mean, for crying out loud, there are cities that have pagan pride days. We're fucking having parades. They have them over in England too. So, like, we also, I believe that, you know, we also have to find a way to embrace that. Let's stop hiding. And of course, you know, I understand that there are people, for all the people who can't constantly show your pride due to where you're living or anything like that, you know, just know that there are people like me and other people that we share your pride. Like, we're proud to be a witch, but I personally believe that it is about time that, you know, we have to realize that when it comes to, say, the gods and the goddesses, yes, they're extremely old, but they're not, their thought process and how they view and how they think, I honestly truly believe that they also changed with the times. I mean, think about it. They're ultimate powerful, you know, like, they're gods, they're goddesses. Of course, they have the intelligence and the understanding to see, well, okay, these people in this year are not walking around freaking out if a cat crossed their path, you know. So they're not, of course, they're not going to go sacrifice their fool idiot or the sick person or something like that. They're not going to go, their town fool, is what I mean by that. But they're not going to go sacrifice them or sacrifice their livestock. I mean, you do have some people who do animal sacrifices still, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry, there's not. As long as I'm not getting into that, but you know, you do have people who do that. But the gods and goddesses, it's almost like the show, American Gods. In a way, that's how I view our gods now, gods and goddesses, when I commune with them. Is they're fully caught up on modern times, and they realize that. But see, that's the difference between New Age paganism and I would say the Christian church, or the church. I'll just say the church. Which some churches, the Catholic Church and stuff, they are catching on, but they have to realize that they have to do something to keep up with this generation and this time. Due to the technology and due to how everything is evolved, the whole, you know, fire, brimstone, books, and stone things, that doesn't really... I mean, unless you're going to rule it by fear, you can't really keep people's attention anymore. And so, but everybody at some point in time has had a witch in their family. Okay, and for one, you don't even have to, it has nothing to do with blood about being a witch. Now, yes, there are some people that are naturally just born with the ability to freely access their own abilities, or the abilities we all have. They have the ability to access them easier than other people. But all you have to do is change your perspective in order to use them. Lighting a candle, magic. Also do the ancestral, spiritual 30-day challenge. Have some coffee with some spirits. But if you do see this and you could think of anything of, like, say a specific day you would want some type of specific random fact or knowledge or anything like that, let me know, please. I would love some feedback on this platform. My Facebook platform, I know where I'm going with those videos, but Instagram is slightly trickier because I can reach a broader range of people. So yeah, let me know. And I did want to say with that, the one thing I did want to kind of throw out there, and eventually I will make a video on it, is one thing with me, if you ever do get to meet me in person, unlike a lot of different people nowadays, even authors, musicians, actors, whatever, a lot of them have or show a persona. And what people don't realize is when they do that, when they throw up that persona, the person, 9 times out of 10, they like the persona. So when they meet you in person and you're not, in reality, you're nothing like that persona, it may throw people off. With me, Fire Lotus, true enough that is not my birth name, but Fire Lotus is me. How I am on my Instagram, the stuff that I view, how I am on any social media that I use, which either goes by my full name or Fire Lotus, it is me. There's no persona. I literally practice it was actually, speaking of that really quick, but the persona thing, I just wanted to say that to where if anybody does meet me in person, how I am on the videos and through my Instagram, it's how I am in real life. And there's a reason behind that, and one of the reasons behind that is because with the stuff that I'm doing, I'm not seeing, okay, how can I get to next month? I'm trying to long-term plan. And I don't want at any point, and the reason that I talk about my bipolar, my anxiety, PTSD, the issues that I have when it comes to my mental health, one of the reasons that I share that so much is, for one, if for any reason I say I'm going to do something and, like, for some reason that doesn't happen, it could be due to my depression goes down. But it's also, for one, I'm not going to pretend that I have this perfect life and that I look flawless all the time, when in reality, I fucking do not. At all. But, with that, it also shows other people that they're not alone. And, well, honestly, I hope to inspire you to do like I do. I preach a lot to walk that, you should... Like, my favorite life quote, life is not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And it's true. We change every single day, just like the moon does. We go through phases. That's great. But at the end of the day, no matter what, if you ever meet me or you talk to me, I am who I am. On social media and off. That is me. It's not a persona. And a cool story with that was the other day, me and my partner were talking. We ran up the road to Dollar General. We were coming back, and we were talking about something. I forgot what it was. I think it was something I had to do craft-wise. And I was like, well, I have to get this, and I have to do this, and then that has to happen. And he stopped, and he goes, and this is the first time he's done it to me, but I've already had that. And this is what I mean by when you do magic, it literally comes a point to where you don't have to think, you're just doing it, or It becomes literally your way of life. Me and him were having that conversation driving down the road, talking about like circles, the stuff that I need to get, the supplies that I need. To anybody outside that car who heard our conversation, they would probably look at me and James like we were crazy. Like, completely like, wait, what? And then it's also, like, in modern day, it's not something you would just hear people randomly talk about. But because he's been with me for 4 years, next year I believe will be 5 years that we've been together. Through that, he's heard me talk about the craft or talk about magic with the terms and stuff, or he's seen me burn herbs or burn incense randomly, or randomly get up out of the blue and like get this weird look in my eye and start creating stuff, burning stuff, stuff like that. And it's normal to him. But from somebody else who would like view our life for 24 hours, it wouldn't be normal at all. Or for someone just starting the craft, it wouldn't be necessarily normal. But over the years of you doing it, or exploring your spirituality, things that you like, eventually, if you do them long enough, or if you talk about it, it literally becomes every day. Every single day. It becomes it. And that's one thing that I love about it is, and with that, to the people that, want to do magic, and this is something I've had to kind of got slapped in the face with, like a reality thing, is, there are some things that magic alone cannot solve. There are some spells that magic alone can't do. You can find spells for them to help out, but when it comes to certain aspects of our own human life and human body, aka the mental state, like mental mind, depression, stuff like that, magic and spirituality, and now this is different for everybody too, but I do want y'all to take this into mind, is do not go into the craft thinking that you're going to do a spell and, all of your issues with your depression or anxiety or stuff like that is magically going to go away. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. You may get relief, but at the end of the day, there are some things that we go through that we do have to step out of our spiritual comfort zone. Or just in general, some things we will need help with outside of magic. It kind of goes in with that, the Western doctor or Western medicine versus herbal medicine and tinctures and stuff. Yes, herbal medicine is great. There are some things that it does, but at the same time, if I slit my hand open for some reason, or if I need surgery or something like that, herbal medicine is not going to fix me right then and there. Modern medicine, on the other hand, can. Now, when it comes to medication, to each their own. I know everybody has different views on that, and I'm no expert. But I will say, if you do suffer from depression or anxiety or anything like that, or anything to do with your physical body, magic can help, yes. It can help emotionally, it can help spiritually. But there are some times and some things in our lives where we do have to, because with all magic's meeting, you're meeting the universe halfway. It's the same. And I myself, I used to be obsessed, I went through a stage where I was obsessed with finding as many happy spells, anti-depression spells, anti-anxiety spells as I could, and I would do them repeatedly. And yeah, I would have better weeks, or better days, or better months, but at the end of the time, it would still come back. And I realized, and this is one of my views with actual medication, especially when it comes to like PTSD, depression, or something like that, is sometimes it's like a tree. In order to heal it properly, you can't just throw a band-aid over it or wrap one of the branches up. Sometimes you have to examine its roots. You have to find the root meaning behind that. Now, with this, I will speak something that I'd mentioned on Facebook, because I know here with the New Age movement how everything's catching on. If you are new to the craft, or if you're new to spirituality, and I mean new as in, I would say personally under 2 years. If you are under 2 years, this is just a guide, my personal opinion. Especially if you're under a year, or not even to a year. If you hear about shadow work, or this coming time in the next 2 weeks will be the perfect time for it, please do as much research as you can before even attempting to do shadow work. Now, what the shadow side is, or the shadow self, there are different types of sayings throughout. I believe I think it's a proverb. It's either a Japanese proverb or a Chinese proverb, but it's like we have 3 masks. One that we show the world, one that we show our close loved ones, and then one that we basically don't show anybody but ourselves. Another one that I view that I've heard the same thing in is the sun and the moon, and this also goes with your astrological charts or your lunar sign and solar sign. What those represent, and what the sun and the moon represents, is the sun. It's who you see every single day. It's who you show the world every single day, everybody you meet. The moon, on the other hand, those are aspects of your personality and parts of you that you only show the closest people to you, like your family members, your loved ones, and your friends. And then there's still, at the point of the day, there's that third side that we don't really show anybody. We don't even like to show ourselves. It's the self-conscious that you have about your body. It's just the things that you would associate with negativity about you there. Your worst fears, your darkest thoughts. That place about us, of our self-conscious and our minds, that we don't really go. Or that's basically the shadow self. And the reason you do shadow work, and the reason it can be dangerous, extremely dangerous, mentally extremely dangerous, is in, say, shamanism. Shamans are people, they're healers, and they have the unique ability to walk between both worlds, one of the living and one of the spiritual. That's what they are. They're spiritual counselors, basically. And in order to be able to fully walk in balance of both worlds, having one foot in this world and one foot in the other, in a balanced method, it's the yin and the yang. And that's what the shadow side is. There's a Cherokee proverb. I think it's Cherokee, but there's a proverb, a Native American proverb, about the wolf. There's a chief and his grandson, and his grandson asked him a question, but there was a conflict going on, and he's like, there are 2 wolves inside you, and but you get to pick who you feed. There's basically yin and yang. There's greed, hate, anger, resentment, jealousy, and then there's love, happiness, all the positive thoughts. It depends on you of which one you're going to feed. But the shadow self is all of what I just said. The negative, what would be the negative aspect. But that doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything like that. But shadow journeying and shadow work is you exploring that. It is basically you facing your shadow self, everything that you push deep down inside that you don't want to put up, you can't process, you don't know how to process, or you just don't want to. It is facing all of that head on, healing from it, processing it, healing from it, and moving on. That is basically at the core of it what the purpose of that is. And the purpose of that is it is supposed to balance you. It's to help keep that balance to where it can also help with, it can be very therapeutical, but you need to do research, and above all, you need to be in a perfect mind state, mentally. If you suffer from depression, I would not suggest doing shadow work. It could make it worse. If you suffer from, say, PTSD, I would not suggest shadow work until you are at a place in your head and with knowledge of shadow work and techniques of doing it on, you know yourself of anything. When it comes to magic, I will say it, at the end of the day, nobody can tell you when you're ready except for you. When I did the craft, when I first started my spiritual journey, true enough, I started and I studied and researched for a year and a day. Now, within that year and a day, I did do small things, small little, like, protection spells, but nothing big. I didn't cast the circle, I didn't do anything like that, nothing major. I didn't invoke any of the gods and goddesses, and I did want to just say this, throw this out there for everybody. With me, and my terms in any of my lives or any of my posts, I wanted to make something extremely distinct with my craft. I do not worship the gods and the goddesses at all. I commune with them. And again, before anybody comes to me who actually sees this, this is just my thoughts and my opinions. I do not worship the gods and goddesses because in my head saying worship is putting the god and goddess above you. And I believe, at the end of the day, in a spiritual way, we're all equal and we're all connected. Again, everything in the universe is a very, very fine balance. You can't have one without the other, and vice versa. So, at the end of the day, I say I commune with them. Because I do. I have not dedicated myself to any gods and goddesses or any specific path or pantheon or anything like that. I commune with them. I've communed with multiple gods and goddesses at the exact same time of different pantheons. Now, of course, I'm not going to do a ritual where I involve two of them and actually it gets complicated, but at the end of the day, I commune with them because I see them as equal. I could be wrong, but that's my belief. So, when I say pagan, I just use pagan as a broad term because I do not worship any god or goddess. I do not worship Gaia. I commune with them. I acknowledge that they're there to help us, and they've always been. And I do. Now, I'm not saying I'm smarter than them in any way, shape, or form, more powerful than them, or anything like that. But to me, for some reason, it was just, I don't know, it was a realization one day, and I just started saying it, is that I commune with the gods and goddesses, and I primarily work with my ancestors and the universe. But at the end of the day, I work with them all. If I get a message, or if I get a feeling or a call that I should, work with a specific god or goddess, then I will. Freya is one of them. Me and Freya I have worked with her and spoken with her a lot due to the fact that I have lots of cats, and I spoil my cats, and I treat my cats if they were my kids. Basically, they are my kids, honestly. I talk to them, and I really do. I'm extremely attached to my cats. But through that, I've been told by other people, and I've felt her myself, that Freya is here. And she visits every now and then to stop in and see the cats. And believe it or not, there have been the story of magick, interesting one. I was going through some shit last year in 2018, like a lot of shit. And two of my friends came over, Devin and Rebecca. And we were drinking, just being, chill night, just blowing off some steam. And they were basically like my support team at that point, because a lot of shit was going on in my life at that point. That was when all the planets were in retrograde. And I had drinking some spirit, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm done with this. So I went outside, and I just went the fuck off. I'm talking straight up in the middle of the night. I went the fuck off. I was like, why is this happening? Why this? Why me? Why? All this shit. Completely went the fuck off on the gods, the goddesses, and I'm getting complete chills when I say this. But I went off on everybody. Ancestors, gods, goddesses. I fucking had it. I was done with all of it. That was like me flipping the fucking table. And it wasn't until the following day. No, I'm sorry. That night. And I have two witnesses to this. And this is also why my cat's name is Magic. After me doing that, and after Becca and Devin snapped me out of it and got me back inside. I turned around and literally we had just walked inside. We were probably inside for probably 5 or 10 minutes. I walk outside, or I go to open my door, and I had a door window that like made the like little triangle thing. I don't know the shape, but that. And I look down, and right between the doorway as you walk onto the porch, because we had like a overhead porch, and then directly to our bed, or directly to my front door, was this fluffy black and white kitten. And when I mean kitten, I mean like kitten. I went outside and I picked her up and I like looked around to see if there were any cars, to see if she'd been dropped off and see if there were any more. And I'll never forget the way that she smelled. I know this sounds so weird. But still, to this day, I do not know where Magic came from. Like, I don't know how she got on my property. Because I spent a lot of time outside as it is. And then I had already had Gypsy, who slightly passed away. It was another cat that came up randomly when I was there. And then I had Stripes outside. And then Thor and Aphrodite and her kittens inside. So, like, I had cats, and I would have known if another cat would have been there, or if a mama cat would have been there, because this one she was still a baby. And I was like, are you fucking I lost it again. I looked up, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I cuss your ass out and say, what the fuck is this shit? And you give me a cat? But in a weird way, looking back, I understand why Magic and honestly why Gypsy. I understand why they both came in my life when they did. They kind of came there as honestly like a familiar in a way. They were kind of, I guess that was the way of the universe saying, hey, we got you. And honestly, Magic and Gypsy, which like I said, Gypsy passed away sadly. While I was there in Alabama. Magic, on the other hand, is still here. She is outside. I'm hoping to get her fixed soon, and we'll be bringing her inside to be an inside cat, because she is way too fluffy, and she's gotten way so big. But Magic, though, I named her Magic because, well, she kind of just magically appeared. But it's so cool because she kept up with it. I got ahead of myself, I'm sorry. When I picked her up and smelled her, she smelled like fresh rosemary mixed with roses. Till this day, she still smells like it. She has random moments where she smells like it. But I have no idea where she came from. Because Gypsy, the other cat that randomly came up with Stripes, they were two different. They could have been from the same breed, but Gypsy was a brindle brown and black cat, and Magic's black and white. Brindle, black and white. But they were both fluffy. I said they had Maine Coon in them. But, there were a couple, because Gypsy and Magic and Stripes stayed outside, because I had Thor and Aphrodite and the kittens inside. And Thor was unfixed at the time. Well, he still is unfixed. But Nanny was in the hospital, and she'd been in and out, but this time she was getting bad, and we didn't think she was coming home. I think she came home one more time after this, but I didn't feel like sleeping in my room, in my bed, because the room that I was sleeping on, I had this huge queen-size bed, and I was just like, yeah, no, the house is too quiet, you know, Nanny's not there, and it's just me and my cats, and I'm just like, no, I can't. So, for some reason, I decided to sleep on the couch that night, in the living room. I wake up it was about 8 o'clock that morning, to something fluffy tickling my face and nose. It was Magic. She had somehow found a way. She was the only outside cat to find a way. Thor found it eventually when the females around the property, or when he just became a man, we'll put it that way. He became an adult. So he wanted to go outside and to explore. But Magic was the only one that actually found the random hole in one of the closets that she could go just come straight through. And that repeated for almost a week, literally. And it got to a point where even when I slept in my bed, I would wake up, and even with Thor being in there, she would be right beside me laying down. And she honestly, she's me. I found out the other day that cats who are very, very clingy, they basically, it means that they have had some type of traumatic in their life, and they have self-esteem issues, self-conscious issues. They're not very self-confident, so they constantly crave your attention. That's what magic does. Literally, if I'm outside, no matter if I'm standing up, she will try to climb my leg, my pants leg, and has successfully done it 3 times. Completely climbed up on my shoulders to get as close as she could to me, or to when I would hold her. She just wants to be with you and pet it. That's it. Like, and she'll literally just she'll lay there until you get up. She's an amazing cat, but I didn't know it then. But that was their way of saying, we understand you're going through a lot of shit right now. There's no magic fix that we can do, we can't magically, because some things are set in stone. Some things can't be changed. But here's a kitten for emotional support, and it worked. It so worked, because when Nanny was put in the hospital and I went through a lot of dark, stressful times, honestly, my cats is what kept going every day. Literally, I got to a point with my depression and everything where I was just like, I'm always here at my house, I'm not doing anything. Like, if it wasn't for my cats and me having to wake up and feed them, because all of my cats that I have, they're on a feeding schedule. As in, I feed them so often at a certain time, like, they will let me know when they are hungry. And even today, they're on it. But honestly, I think that's how you have amazing cats. For one, you have to show them, you have to treat them. Honestly, if you are a cat owner and a cat lover, to have an awesome cat, treat them and talk to them like you were their equal. Don't talk to them like you would talk to a dog and like that cute little puppy. No. They're not children. That is the one difference between a cat and a dog. Dogs do not see us as equals. Dogs see us above them. Cats do not. Cats see us as equals. That is why they'll bring us random dead things as gifts. But with my cats, like I said, I will cuss the motherfuckers out. Like, straight up. I will talk to them like I'm talking to James, like I'm talking to me, like I'm talking to you. And they will respond. Like, I promise you, legit, you will get looks out of your cats that you may never got before, but they're like, holy shit, I understand what you said, and message received. Now, of course, that just because they can understand you and listen does not mean they're going to. At all. But with that, it's about to be 12 o'clock, and I have other stuff I have to do in the house. For anybody who sees this, and for all the people who stop by, thank you so much. And for all the people who do see this, yeah, I hope you like it. Again, this will be every Monday through Friday, sometime in the morning before 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But here on Instagram, like I stated in my last live, if you would like me to go live, like in a later time, I can pick a specific day to where I can rearrange my schedule to where I can do like a nighttime broadcast, if that's easier for people, because I know a lot of people work in the morning times. So yeah, if you see this and if you agree with it, let me know, please. And until then, peace, and I hope y'all have a great morning, night, I don't know your life, but I hope you have a great one.